Evil is on the rise. Demons battle to possess our souls and drag us one step closer to hell. But now, there is a gathering of spiritual warriors who defend us against the devil's minions.
Go back to hell! Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle.
And unite to banish the demons in our midst.
This was the case that opened my eyes.
This 17-year-old girl was so distraught that she would do anything to talk to her dad one more time.
Disturbing things started happening. You could feel the presence. It was just terrifying.
We ended up having our very first demonic experience. It frightened me. It frightened me to the core.
Demons wait patiently for the ultimate checkmate, the rise of the Antichrist, which will lead to the final battle between good and evil. Until then, the spiritual warfare will continue. These are the true stories of the Legion of Exorcists.
To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is the Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Shawn Whittington. I'm a seminarian in the United States Old Catholic Church, and I'm coming to you from my haunted house, my very haunted house, where it was quiet most of the morning, but now it's starting to pick up, and I know it's because of my guest. That trailer at the beginning of this of the show that Zach threw in there, that looks pretty scary. I'm not watching it, but so be forewarned if you watch something like that. That's scary stuff. June 1st, Thursday, 10 p.m. Season 1 begins of Legion of Exorcists. Eli Roth presents Legion of Exorcists. We're very excited here in the Whittington household that I'm a part of that project. I feel totally blessed to be a part of that. And we've been working on it since before the pandemic. So a lot of hard work. I think it'll be something unlike anything any of you have ever seen in that genre before. And I hope you all enjoy it. Okay. What else do I want to say to you guys? Yeah, we got a great show today. I haven't had a chance to chat with my guest, and you all know him and love him, and that's why you tuned in. I haven't had a chance to chat with him in a while, so I'm going to bring him on as quickly as I can. Let's check the prayer urn first. Robert E. from Arizona, just next door. Robert, how are you, brother? Been all over the place emotionally lately. Mental health issues run in my family. Having tests run next week. Please pray for a positive outcome. Robert, you're not alone, brother. I get more and more requests like that all the time. Mental health is a very serious thing, and it's nothing to be joking about. I will add you to the prayer list, and you'll be in my prayers. Keep me posted. But yes, I would love to offer up a very wonderful prayer for you. I've got a few healing prayers here. Just whatever one pops up to me first, I'm going to go with, because that's what discernment's telling me. Okay, I offer this prayer up for Robert in Arizona. Merciful Lord of life, I lift up my heart to you in my suffering, and I ask for your comforting help. I know that you would withhold the thorns of this life if I could attain eternal life without them. So I throw myself on your mercy, resigning myself to this suffering. Grant me the grace to bear it and to offer it in union with your sufferings. No matter what suffering may come my way, let me trust in you. Amen. You know what? You didn't ask for this, Robert, but I'm going to do this for you too. I'm going to light a candle for you, and the candle will continue to burn for the rest of the show then I will carefully take it into the room where all the candles, for people that have asked me to light candles for them, all the candles are burning, and your candle will continue to pray until it's done. May the Holy Spirit enter and intervene in the life of Robert and remain with him on this journey and on to the next. I mean that, Robert. Keep me posted on your progress, buddy. I want to know what the doctor says. And follow your doctor's instructions. Nothing to be ashamed of if you get put on some meds or something. Okay? All right, let's check the Paranormal Ministry mailbag. This may be, who knows, this may be a good question to throw at my guest, too. I get that a lot, too. So if it is, I'll hold on to it and we'll talk to my guest about it. Paul W. from Florida. I hear salt is good. Yes, it is. On some of my favorite meals, I couldn't eat them without salt on them. For spiritual protection, what kind of salt do you use, and do you use it, and how do you use it? That's an awesome, awesome question, and I am going to run that question past my guest. That's an awesome question, Paul. And you know, it's funny. This is meant to be. There's a lot of psychic connection going on here with me, my co-producer, my guest, you out there, my Paranormal Ministry family, and a lot of the people that send in questions for me, because I was just recently running very low on supplies and gave my wife, well, I haven't given it to her yet, here is a shopping list that I was going to give my wife for some salts. I hope you have a piece of paper and a pen, and if not, you can replay this. This is my to-go-to Mojo Strength, Exorcism Strength salt blend. Kosher, sea salt, Dead Sea salt, Himalayan pink, Hawaiian black. All these salts are blended together in a blend, and then I take it and I have a very good friend of mine who's a bishop, not my bishop because he's all the way in Kentucky, but there's a bishop here at a local Catholic church that lays hands on and blesses these salt for me, and that's what I use. And it goes everywhere. I sprinkle it on myself. I sprinkle it on the inside windowsills of my home, on the ground at every door that leads outside of my home. I go outside and I strategically sprinkle it around the outside of my house and in my property. But yes, blessed, it's got to be blessed. Blessed salt is very, very powerful. That's a great question. And I am going to talk to my guest about that. If there's anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. If you go there to visit, a lot of cool things to see. Keep in mind, my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So, brothers and sisters, trust me, I know times are tough. But if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. If you are having issues of a spiritual nature not attached to the paranormal and you'd like to speak to me about those issues, I'm a certified spiritual advisor. There's a place on the website where you can make an appointment to speak with me. But don't leave without going over to the page called Introduction to Spiritual Warfare Course/book. On that page, you'll find the Ghost Store. And if you buy anything in the Ghost Store, proceeds go to things that I donate to. But scroll past all that stuff and you'll see my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. And I quote, scariest book I ever published. That was Annette Munich, owner of Stellium Books, my publisher. But don't let that scare you off of purchasing a copy. If you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. How cool is that? You help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. And I've got my other book coming out, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 2, Chronicles of an American Exorcist, comes out this Memorial Day, the last day of this month. And it just so happens my publisher said even scarier than the first book. So just wanted to throw that warning out there to you. Scroll a little bit further down, you'll see the Introduction to Spiritual Warfare course. I offer a college level course, online course. I'm the instructor. I put the course together. And this course is for all you true warriors for Christ out there that feel a calling and a longing to want to have more knowledge when it comes to drawing your line in the sand, making a stand, putting up a good fight against, God forbid, true evil. If it ever comes calling, this is the course for you. You can enroll there at the website. You can also go to the Introduction to Spiritual Warfare Facebook page and read more about it before making that type of commitment. But I'm proud of the course, and everybody that has taken the course in past loves it. And having said that, please keep all my former, current, and future students in your prayers. And all my students that graduate get a stunning diploma, certificate of completion suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed gifts that you can only get from yours truly. So you can enroll in the course there at the website if you're interested. And I think spring of 2023 class is just about filled up. So if you're really interested in the course, now's the time. No, it's not going to teach you how to be an exorcist. That's a completely different calling. It is what it is. Introduction to Spiritual Warfare through my eyes. And what I've experienced and how I've dealt with those types of things. Okay. Now, the reason why you all tuned in. I love him. I respect him. He's a cool dude. He hasn't been on the show in a while because he's just really busy. And plus, he's not really fond of the show, I don't think. And a couple of times he turned me down. And that's after him already being on a few times. I take the blame for that. Some people get me, some don't. I'm just joking. He gets me. Original member of the Mod Squad, Maverick, not James Garner's son. It's a homecoming because he introduced me to Adrian, who introduced me to Zach, and they became my co-producers. And he's just a cool dude. We talk a lot and bounce stuff off one another. He's the executive producer of Unsolved Cases. You all know him. You all love him. Please give a big, warm Paranormal Ministry family welcome to the one and only Rick Garner.
What up? What's shaking, people?
Okay, hey, Rick, I want to bring this up. You know what? The conversation that we were having before we came on air.
Yeah.
I got my pants on.
All I've got to say is if these are the conversations you're always having with him, it's no wonder why you don't come on very often.
Yeah, there has to be, a space in between. It's got to be some padding.
There's definitely that recovery space. So
Speaking of padding, I'm sitting on quite a bunch right now. It comes in handy. If you're going to do a podcast, you got to have some padding.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I look at you. I'm doing good, but I look at you, and this is what I think of.
Uh-oh.
I think it's a famous scene from a movie, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Tom Hanks sitting on a bench, and he said to this lady at a bus stop, when you're the executive producer of Unsolved Cases, you never know what you're going to get. I'm pretty sure that's how the line went. So you don't know where this conversation is going to go, and I'll tell you, I've got a sheet of where it was supposed to go.
Yes.
And now since you've come on, since we got together about 15 minutes ago in the green room, now I've already written down other topics to talk about.
I don't even know why you have a sheet there, basically, because our conversations just go all over.
Okay, well, let me show you the sheet.
I still had the baby powder in my head, and he said, I've got a sheet, and I'm like, what? Wait, what?
What I'm loving is all
we cannot talk before the show anymore. That's it.
It's over. It's
for all of you out there right now that are going to go TMI. Why'd I tune in? No wonder Rick doesn't do the show more often. Well, I have to address the whole baby powder thing. I'm a bigger guy. I live in Las Vegas. That's like it's like certain parts of the year here. It's like living on the surface of Mars. Having said that, big guys got to powder down a little bit. That's the key. But not baby powder, cornstarch.
Mm-hmm. So first off, hey Charles,
you got to do that after you're done powdering, or you get it everywhere.
And second off, it's good to know that the rib is seasoned in case you if you never knew, now you do. Okay.
That's why I don't go out. I would never go to a country where there would be like cannibals, or I'd investigate the natives, because
Yes.
you know, I could be good eating.
I mean, I consider you a juicy morsel anyway, but it'd be a totally different story with them. So
You've seen some of the old films. Juicy morsel. That was my nickname in high school. Anyway, so this is the conversation is going to go here.
yeah.
I remembered some things, like I felt embarrassed of. I said to myself in the mirror, and I do that often.
So
Why didn't I think of these questions until I saw Rick's face? Because these are the important things I want to address first. But here's the list. These aren't my questions anyhow. When I announced that you're coming on the show, fans and followers of yours, this show has taken on a life of itself. They send me in questions for my guests, so it makes my life easy.
Yes.
But I want to ask you, these are the important things I want to ask first.
Okay. Hit me.
How is your paranormal partner in crime, Darren, doing? Because Darren, we almost lost Darren.
Yeah. So a very good question, and the perfect one to start off. He's doing remarkably well. Like you just mentioned, I mean, the end of this last year was certainly unexpected, because basically, I mean, here we are. Pretty much, it was on the cusp of Christmas, and I'm finding out that he's in the hospital and is on life support, and basically death's doorstep, pretty much. And I'm like, what? Go from there into the new year. He's basically unconscious through Christmas, through New Year's. He was in the hospital for 48 days, I believe, total. And yeah, a lot of that was actually being on life support. I guess the real short story was due to bilateral pneumonia that had come on him just out of the blue. Now, was it related to him having COVID a couple times before? Perhaps, if you just take logic into play, lungs being scarred or weakened, and then everything else that's going on, could that have led to it? I don't know if even he knows basically kind of where it came from. But once he had that, his lungs started hardening, and so that's why they had to put him on life support to bypass and work with that. Flash forward to today, he's doing well. He's doing PT and is still on disability from work. Kind of figured, like, probably most of this year that's where he'd be. There's obviously the hopes of, like, maybe in the fall being able to kind of get back to some normalcy, whatever that looks like. But walking, he's able to walk further, because before, like, walking up some stairs would frankly almost be impossible, because even taking a few steps kind of got winded there basically. But he's on a good path of recovery, which is a true blessing.
Yes, if you talk to him, please give him my best, send him my love. That was scary stuff, because the message you basically sent me was, please pray for Darren. It's not looking good. And then I researched a little bit and tried to find out what I could, and it didn't look good at all. And I was like, wow. And it was scary. And then I just recently, about a month ago, got COVID too. And this is, come on. All the things I've done since the pandemic came out, I didn't, and I don't go out much. I don't know how, the wife got it too, but she works 6 days a week, sun up to sundown, and she's it works with the public. So go figure. But, and I still got some issues. I mean, I'm on strong cough medicine. I had to change me up on that, because the other stuff that I took I was zombied out all the time. So now I'm able to take this, if necessary, 3 times a day. It doesn't make me zombied out, but it keeps me from going into these coughing fits, which I'm capable of doing at any time, and I can't stop. And I, like, chunks of lung come up, man. It's like brutal. And the doctor says, oh, you may have that for a while. People now are reporting many different things that they didn't have before having COVID, and now they're having these side effects, months and months and months to go on. So it is
long COVID, as it's described, I guess,
That's craziness, man. Craziness. I would love, and you're the perfect dude to do it. If I was confident that my show wouldn't get taken off of YouTube or off of Facebook, I would just give you the green light to go as deep into the conspiracy theory about COVID and the vaccines that you want. But every time I've done that, my episodes got taken down. So that is what it is too. That's the world we live in nowadays, and that should tell everybody something right there. But scary stuff. So anyway, I'm glad Darren's still with us, and then I'm going to move on to the next important thing. And I know this is a little bit older, but I couldn't find in any of my notes of our correspondence where you had updated me on this. So I'm going to ask.
Okay.
Your good friend that had that really bad paranormal experience at the cemetery. That was scary.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
want to know. I want an update on all that, and you can bring everybody up to speed on that whole situation. That's scary.
Yeah. So, and going back to your conversation about salt, and we can certainly unpack that a little bit further, but there is a relation there as far as it goes to protection. So, referring to our other team member, Mike Chin. So, for geographic purposes, the Unexplained Cases team, myself and Mike are actually in Maryland. We're about 30 minutes apart from each other. Darren is all the way on the other coast. He's in Seattle, Washington. We've recently added a couple of correspondents to the team. We've got Tim Sapella, who is in Detroit, Michigan. And then I also have Jim, who is in New Zealand. So
Wow.
he's both of them are great guys, basically. So
is he I'm sorry to interrupt. Is he
No.
Got any Maori in him?
Well, the accent and everything there. I've just getting to know Jim pretty well there, so I'm quite sure there's a lot of history that I need to catch up with Jim on, because he actually introduced us to the Mahu man, basically, which I had never heard of that before, but. The Mahu Man is basically the New Zealand Bigfoot. So when Jim Burchell basically is wandering around out in the jungles there, basically the bush as they refer to it, I would hope he doesn't come back with different things, basically, because that just looks like it's wet and it's scary all the time, basically, in a way. So.
I grew up in my lifetime. I've known a couple of Maoris, legit Maoris, that became friends. And it's like I would never learn my lesson. Every time I saw them, I'd go for a high five or a right on, brother, handshake or something. And they would want to just punch me because they don't do that. You put your hands down, you got to touch foreheads. And I'll tell you, I came about this because I'm a very impressionable person, especially when I was younger. I came about that close a couple of times to getting facial tats done because they have them. And some of them are just awesome. But some part of me just said, "Listen, number one, you're white. Two,
yes.
You're not a Maori. 3, you'll never work again." So, and this is before I met my wife. So, like, if you don't plan on getting married and have somebody take care of you, you're not going to have a good life with face tats. So, but if I ever move to New Zealand, I'm getting one because I figured it'd be in there.
See, I think old Jim matches some of those descriptions, but also the fact that he has, podcast and has been a journalist. I'm not sure how serious he would have been taken, basically, as having, in essence, our complexion and having tats on his face and stuff like that. But, hey,
I'm going to recommend something to you. Have you ever seen the movie? And there's many people out there that may have seen it, maybe not. Very low budget, not. I know very few people that have seen it, and I'll warn people ahead of time. Very violent, very graphic, but it's a movie called Once We're Warriors, and it's about the Maoris.
Okay.
And it's all filmed on location down there in New Zealand, and that's all I'll say. And it's like modern times, the way they are, the way they live, their communities, and like the Maori street gangs and the Maori elders and the conflict there, and It's a intense movie. Once We're Warriors. If since you now have a friend, team member down there, you might be interested in that movie. But it's hard to find, but it's out there. Once We're Warriors, just a cool movie about the Maoris.
Hey, you'll put my research skills to the test there. Basically, I'll dig that up. So thanks.
Warning, it's graphic. There's. I'm thinking of one scene in there where actually I'm thinking of two scenes in there where even and I'm getting goosebumps right now. Even I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this whole scene, and that's unusual for me because I've seen it all. But it's very realistic, very graphic.
Wow,
that's all I'll say.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
so continue on with the cemetery story. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, not at all. See, we do this, and it's okay. I mean, this is perfectly fine. It's a tapestry.
Yeah, we went from the cemetery thing to face tats.
We got tapestry going on right here, and people, if they just tune in, they're thinking I'm doing some type of ritual. So.
I catch Zach doing that all the time when he doesn't know he's on camera. I haven't asked him what that is, but
yeah, it's a nervous tick that he's got.
And talking, and there's nobody there.
Yeah, well, it happens basically when folks watch your show long enough. So
I worry about him. He's down in the basement at his house, and Adrian doesn't let him out much. I'm a little worried.
Well, at least she feeds him. He does. He's pretty fed and watered pretty good, so it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Mike Chid, Mike did something that is a perfect example of, and he uses that and knows that I use it as an example of what not to do with an investigation. So we had talked about the fact that he was in North Carolina, and it was a 300-year-old cemetery. It was referred to as a burying grounds, actually. So I guess that's kind of.
Is it a part of a church?
They're definitely. I know that there's a church next door. I don't necessarily know if the actual cemetery was connected to it or not.
Gotcha.
I know it was literally right there, so one could assume, but I'm not sure just because of the age and fuzzy memory at the moment. But it's something that Mike had heard about it, and he wanted to check it out, and so we also decided to do a live. And this was when we were doing more lives, basically. So this is, if you go back to 20 and 21. And he went into this cemetery. And so Darren at the time is in Arizona. Here I am in Maryland. Mike's in North Carolina in the cemetery and walking through it. And eventually, there's a moment. And of course, this becomes the moment to unpack where he just bolts out of the cemetery. Now, me being a videographer, producer type of angle, I'm like, oh, this is great TV. This is perfect. Please don't actually hurt yourself, Mike, but this is great. There's this big bald guy running out of a cemetery. This is beautiful. But I'm also wondering what's going on, because nothing rattles Mike, basically. And of course, the short story would have been at that moment up to that, between having an owl that was in the top of the trees hooting, which is also thought of or known as a bit of a warning. It's kind of like, the indication there is if an owl is, at that particular location is hooting at you, then it's kind of like, hey, buddy, there's something around. You don't need to be here.
There's either trouble coming or you're at a Hootie and the Blowfish concert.
And so he had that forewarning. He's already was feeling, off. The fact that coming through the spirit box was just a lot of interesting chatter. And at that moment, he just feels like there is a rush of something coming at him from out of the trees, out of the shrubbery, basically. And he could hear it. Now, you couldn't actually hear it on the live. You couldn't see anything moving, couldn't hear anything moving. It's just basically he has the camera in that direction, and then the running. Now, getting to what happens afterwards, that's where we end up chatting with. We've had connections with a couple of mediums, Miriam and also Angela Boley.
Miriam still have a crush on me?
She does, actually. We were talking about that recently. So I was just telling her basically he's really got to move past. He's taken. You really should. Or maybe you could just keep pining for him. It's okay. There's it's healthy. Healthy pining. So, uh, but Angela ends up drawing this picture, and so we're going to have a follow up, and it is to me, talking about graphic. This isn't graphic, except for the fact it's a graphic drawn, but of this skeletal faced, hair flowing back, just crazy type of picture, which I was like, I think I need to share that with Mike before we actually go on the air. Normally, I don't do that kind of thing because I prefer that it's like, it's kind of raw, but I'm like, we need to talk about this first. And she also gave him some instructions of basically prayers to say, to anoint the space, to basically get some more protection, because ultimately what ended up happening is he went into that space, did what we never do, but it's easy to forget, is to basically set up protection. And to me, this is why I tell people, don't go into cemeteries. Yeah, it's maybe the easiest thing that you can do, and it's easy access. And, if you're there to obviously to pay respects or whatever, that's your purpose, that's one thing. But if you're going there to investigate, A, you better be protected. B, I would probably just caution it, because there's always something that's basically going to be lurking. And it's the type of something that you don't want to get attached to you. And that's what happened in his case, is he had that attachment, but thankfully he was able to get rid of it. So he's doing well.
Oh, that's a scary story. I remember that. Remember at that time, and when you'd reached out to me about that, that was pretty intense. And I think I had recently, you know, I'll admit that back in the day, I used to give tours of a very haunted pet cemetery here in town, where there's some people buried there too, because it was a people cemetery before, a big lot of land that was all the cemetery, but then a portion of it was sold off and made into a pet cemetery. But whoever people that were still buried there were there. And here in Vegas, you can't leave in your will, bury me here and then bury my dog with me. That's a no-go. But if you have a dog buried in a pet cemetery, you can leave in your will, I want to be buried with my dog, and they will bury you in a pet cemetery.
Okay.
Just for those of you that don't know that. So there was a lot of poltergeist activity happening there after this gentleman who had like 5 of his dogs buried there. For some strange reason, he comes to the cemetery, visits all his pets, goes home, murders his wife, murders his son, murders a couple of the animals that were living there at the time, and then murders himself, commits suicide.
Wow.
So then they ended up burying him there, and right after they buried him there was poltergeist activity off the charts, and the place was already active. That's why I was giving tours. So that made me think a lot. After I went there and helped out with that situation, I stopped doing the tours there because it got weird. So I would have to agree with you 100%. I'm really on the fence, unless you really have to be there paying respect or attending a funeral or a burial. I looking back, it was probably not a wise thing for me to be giving tours there and to continue to go there. And when I had a team, I would train people there, and that wasn't very wise. But I'm glad your friend's doing. That's a scary thing. What did he do when he saw the photo?
Oh, he freaked out. I mean, basically, here's one of those situations to where, and again, this goes into how much you want to receive this type of information. And what I mean by that is how much trust, I guess, you have in a medium's information, because most people may not basically seek, that type of insight. For Mike, he just knew he was off. He was agitated. He wasn't sleeping well. I mean, there was just a litany of things that was just not normal for him. So it was kind of like, all right, something's going on. And so then it was a case to where, and remotely too, because sometimes people say, oh, I have to see someone. It's like, well, Again, if someone's real and they got some skills, then they're going to be able to, remotely evaluate you, if you will. And so once he had that, it was just like, okay, well, now here's a visual representation. Here's what's going on. And this is where I also think, unfortunately, too many creators and individuals out there who do this as like, oh, this is fun, this is a hobby, or I'm trying to get fame, or I'm trying to get more clicks or whatever. They're not protecting themselves. They're wandering in here, foolishly doing things, and frankly, could be attracting multiple attachments. And then they may think, oh, I have a cold, or I'm stressed, or I have anxiety, or whatever. And it's like, there may be a reason for that, buddy. Just because of some poor choices you made.
And it would take somebody like you with your experience to just naturally have that second thought to say, maybe I ought to check with him first before I just show this photo on air. Evidence review, for all you investigators out there that do residentials, it reminds me of a time when this woman had seen this apparition on second floor of her 2-story home several times. So why the photo freaked her out so bad? But it was she would see this apparition of what appeared to be just a heavy set person that had no feet or hands or head, and it would just kind of float, along on the second floor of this home that she was in. Well, I got it on film, and when I did the evidence review, we were both standing at the top of her stairs, and when she looked at the photo, she actually fainted. And if I wasn't there to catch her, she would have fallen down the stairs. So I learned a big lesson there too about evidence review and being careful, and especially when it hits close to home. And something about you knew, this is my team member, and I probably should run this past him first before just.
Yeah, well, and it's because we were going to be talking about live as well, basically. So it's kind of like, to me, that's a rare situation. But especially also during that time, Angela was also, her gift is being able to draw what type of spirits are around an individual. So most of the time, our guests, there was no preparing a person for it. It was basically like, okay, and here we go. Which, again, it's 9 times out of 10 that's not going to be a problem. But for the moments when it was like something ultra, like, okay, I don't think that would be wise to surprise that individual with that. It'd be better to like, let's talk about this first, so then what's going on, to risk basically what might happen. The shock live on the air kind of thing.
Angela Bowley, I love her. And you still do a lot of work with her?
Yeah. So again, since we don't do the lives anymore, that was basically, she was part of Unexplained Cases Live. She and Miriam both. So still in touch with both of them, just randomly. Like, especially with Angela, one thing I'll do occasionally is like, if I have a location and I'm just kind of curious, like I may send her a couple of pictures and be like, so you sense anything going on here? Because
I have her on the show all the time. She shows up at these, and she's a beautiful artist, talented artist.
Yes.
The things that she gets and then puts down, paints, is just incredible.
Absolutely. So, it's interesting that gift, the most that I have is that I can look at a place and be like, okay, yeah, that's haunted. Or, wow, there's someone at that window, and, they're either nice, or they're basically saying, get off my lawn. But that's as deep as I go basically with things. It's just kind of an impression basically. But someone like her, it's well defined ability.
Okay. What was the next one I wanted to talk to you about? Oh, and I wasn't going to ask this.
Oh.
But now my discernment's telling me, no, you got to ask him about it. You brought it up.
Ooh.
Okay. I mentioned the word church.
Yes.
And I know you have been known to go to church a few times in your life. You're a God-fearing, church-going man. I love you for that. I am planning, I know it's a ways off, but I thought about you when I thought about this. Sharon and I are going to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary in 5 years. Ooh. And we're already planning now for a group visit to England, Ireland, and Scotland. We're hoping to take maybe 12 couples. And I thought about bringing you and your wife, if that would be possible. I know it's going to be hard for a lot of people, and it might just be 12 single people. All guys, all girls, or a mixture, who knows? But we're hoping maybe 12 couples, because one of the stops is going to be the Holy Well, and I plan to do baptisms and renewal of wedding vows there, or even marry people. But I know we're going to go to Lep Castle, and we're going to go to a castle tied to apparitions of Mary, Queen of Scott, because Sharon's related to her. And one of the last stops, I hope it's the last stop, is going to be, now you can add this topic to your blog. Mr. Garner goes to Whittington,
Washington, yes.
but change it to Whittington, because we will go to Whittington Castle, my family castle,
Yes,
in
yes.
Whittington, England.
Mhm.
Haunted. I would,
Of course.
Unsolved Cases episode at Whittington Castle with a Whittington.
I like it.
And
I like it.
this is where the church thing comes in.
Yes.
And anything you want to add to this, and any personal opinions, let your spirituality flow here. They were a lot of people think this wasn't true, but King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table had ties with the Lords of Whittington. All of that was true. It is believed that they do have documentation of Percival being at the castle, and Holy Grail fits in there somewhere. Then a famous, and his name escapes me, you can find it online, a famous archaeologist, historian in England, dug up what many believe to be is the Holy Grail there at the bottom of one of the wells at the castle. It's on display at some museum there in England. A lot of people that are sensitive to that stuff say there's a lot of power coming off of this cup. But there's also, and then you threw out Maryland there. Here's the tie-in. There's, in my family history, researching things, there was a man of the cloth with the last name of Whittington that during the time that they were really hunting for the Grail is rumored to have gotten out of the country with the Grail for the purpose of safekeeping the Grail, and brought it to all places, Maryland. Somewhere in Maryland. So I'm throwing all of this stuff out at the executive producer of Unsolved Cases, because you have a Whittington and you have this story, and I know that's how your mind works. Anyway, long story short, if you're able to go on this trip, we will make sure Whittington Castle is a stop, and we'll do I have teams there that have already reached out to me that have investigated it, that say they'll investigate with us and give us support as far as equipment and bodies. We can investigate there and just have a great time. But I throw all that out at you to see if maybe who knows what you may be able to uncover about the Grail actually maybe being in Maryland there somewhere.
As usual, you're laying all this out, and there's so many little nuggets basically to grab out of this, because for one thing, of course, you say Holy Grail, and I think of Monty Python, and I think of Indiana Jones, and it depends basically. It's kind of hard to ignore those two things, but Jim Burchell, also New Zealand correspondent, he's actually going to the UK, just basically kind of like doing a little bit of a tour in July. So I hear that and I'm like, wow, he was trying to make a list of things to stop by. So if there was ever a chance that he basically, I don't know, could sneak by the castle or whatever and take a few notes or whatever, a little preliminary, that could be interesting. But as far as the trip, that sounds amazing. I have never been across the pond.
Nor I.
That would be amazing as well. So keep me updated on that, because that's
we'll advertise it plenty of time in advance and give people the time. But I have a woman in Ireland who has a travel company, and she's going to arrange it all. We're going to go to places. We'll be there about 10 days, and we're going to go to places that you would never find if you just contacted any run-of-the-mill tourist agency from over there to get you over there. None of those stops. These are stops that you're not going to normally go to, of course, except for Lep Castle. But she's an entertainer and is very good friends with Shawn, who owns the castle, and he's an entertainer too. And so when we go there, they're going to perform a concert for us. And he may, if I'm an ordained priest by then, I'm going to go up into the Bloody Chapel and maybe even perform mass. So it's going to be just a incredible. I'm going to make sure I go to places attached to St. Patrick, go to the family castle, go to places attached to Mary Queen of Scots, William Wallace. I got to go to a couple, because my father's mother was a descendant of William Wallace, so I have to go to some place attached to William. But it's going to be 10 days that people will never, ever, ever forget. And like I said, at the Holy Well, if anybody's there that wants to be baptized or married or renewal of vows, marriage vows, I'll do all of that there that one day, and it's going to be cool, very cool.
And you'll have to also pack enough cornstarch for such a
Oh
journey
my
as well.
gosh!
So-
Oh yeah. Well, I have to do my research and see if the English cornstarch. I can see it now. You bringing it up, I can't travel with that much cornstarch, so I'll have to get some there. And you got to be careful. The English cornstarch may be a little different. I'll have to do my research on that. But yeah, I couldn't travel without cornstarch for sure.
Have to be prepared. But it's so funny on this topic that you bring up, because if people basically want to get more of you, and I mean, who wouldn't? Basically, I mean, that should go without saying. Then this topic very directly relates to why it doesn't feel like it's been that long since we've had a chat and been here on the virtual screen, so to speak, because I was editing you into
your documentary, that was freaking awesome, dude.
Well, thank you. Yes.
And please go ahead, talk about that for a little bit. I want everybody to know
Yeah.
about that and watch it on YouTube. That was awesome.
That was a bit of a labor of love. Speaking of, like, you talked about the show that you're being in there, which, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
That opportunity you mentioned started in the pandemic. So, like, I was doing these interviews, which it was hard to believe. Basically, you got 17 individuals together, started in 2020, spilled over into 21, had plans to roll it out Christmas of 21, Christmas of 22, got around to this year, and it's like, okay, this has got to get done. It's been sitting on the shelf too long, and why wait until the Christmas rotation? Easter is also a blessed time if you're looking for a milestone. And this was an opportunity to just deal with the topic of, can the paranormal and faith coexist? Because as I have learned personally, you as well, having been a part of the documentary, other individuals, it can be a bit of a taboo type of weird type of thing, and it all basically deals with a person's perspective, how they were brought up in the church, in their faith, their perspective on even the word paranormal. You say that and instantly it's dark, it's occult, it's evil, it's all like that. It's like, paranormal means beyond normal. It's a word. But again, people come from different aspects. But it was interesting to get together, and that was the prerequisite for the documentary, individuals who are of faith, but then they also have an interest, at bare minimum, in the paranormal, if they're not an investigator or ordained exorcist. The list goes on for you, basically, and everywhere in between, to have the conversation, to ask some pertinent questions, and to be able to see, like, where things fall. And it was fascinating to me to be able to see how well things aligned. Obviously there were some differences, but for folks who watched it to be like, wow, this really helped. Actually, this gave them new things to think about, new questions, answered some questions for them, and ultimately that was the whole reason of doing the documentary.
And that is on your YouTube channel. Let everybody know the name of the documentary and how to get to your YouTube channel.
Yep. It's called Faith and the Paranormal. And if you go to youtube.com/unexplained cases, or search for Unexplained Cases right now, it's the very first thing that's on there. It actually got released last month, but it's nearly 3 hours long. So it was a labor of love. And
sometimes people see that, like, I even have people say, how long is your show? I'll tune in. I like that guy, but how long is your show? An hour. I can't sit for an hour. And people say that to me all the time back in the day about my 2-hour radio show. So if you can't sit there for the 3 hours, and if you can, it's awesome. It goes by like that, because if you're into that genre and that topic, it flies by. But watch an hour of it and come back and watch another hour and come back and make it a 3-parter if you have to. But it's
Right.
well worth the watch.
What's nice also about YouTube now is that they've developed it so that you can have chapters. And so as before, if something was that long and you just wanted to skip ahead or whatever to be like, oh, is this interesting or whatever? Now, very specifically, you can see, okay, who is there? What are they talking about? It depends on how much information the creator put behind the chapters, but now I laid that all out so someone can come in and obviously, they want to specifically just watch your segments. They could basically just take, they could just skip to all those and enjoy you basically again. So we could have 24/7
Very,
Shawn.
very well done, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud to know you and have worked with you a little bit, and hopefully there's more of that between us in the future.
Absolutely.
That was a well done documentary. Well done.
Thank you.
So I highly recommend anybody watching that's interested in that topic, faith in the paranormal, go to his Unexplained Cases YouTube channel and watch that documentary. Very good. I have about a little over 5 minutes before I have to say goodbye to you. So I know we can't. I know we can't go crazy on this topic, but this is another topic. Now that we're on faith and spirituality and how you can paranormal and faith can communicate and
Yes.
marry. I don't have any of the names to throw at you. It's easy for someone to find online. Many people have written about it. There's been many shows about it. But there's a village in Ethiopia, and there's a church there. And this church is about as old as you can get, as old as time. And there's monks and priests there. And for as far back as I can remember, even as a little boy, the rumor has been that they have the Ark of the Covenant there.
Oh.
No one see it's in a fortress basically at this monastery. And when a priest gets to a certain level there, he's next in line because there's one priest that lives 24/7 in with the Ark to protect it and be with it. It doesn't need protecting, and then when that priest dies, there's another one to take his place. So there's always someone with the Ark. But there's some of the biggest people in Catholicism, and like Josh Gates did a wonderful miniseries about it, and he believes it's there, that believe the Ark is there. Now here's where I'm going to tell you the story. A revolt, like a coup or a revolution, started in this village. And this is a village of old, poor farmers and peasants. And this invading rebel force came in there, and their plan was to take over this monastery and get their hands on the Ark. This village of hundreds of people, anything they could get their hands on, they could be used as a weapon. They grabbed and they fought to the death. Many, many died. They fought to the death to protect this church and protect what was in this church from falling into the hands of this invading rebel force. It's like I think of the crucifixion, the resurrection, Jesus's ascension, and all of these poor peasants that knew it was certain death to continue to preach the word of Christ during that time, chose to still do it. You don't do that for a hoax. You don't do that for a lie. These people fought to the death to protect something of extreme importance and extreme power. And we know if the Ark's there, we know the power of the Ark. I think of the very end of Raiders, but we're talking, that kind of power. You read about the power that destroying armies back in the day who had it, when they went into battle. I mean, I'll just shut up now and let you, in the couple of minutes I have before I have to say goodbye to you, I just laid that little story on you. What do you think?
Well, see, I would have expected, again, at least according to Indiana Jones, I would have expected the Ark was actually at Area 51 because that's where it was stored with hundreds of other things.
And it's there at the, the very last one. They go there.
Yeah.
Throws the buckshot up in the air, and
right, and it travels around, and then there's the broken case. Like, oh yeah, this is where this is at. So, Yeah, I mean, to me, it's those type of things that are very fascinating to where, and I guess ultimately this ties back into really, what Unexplained Cases is about. Is we're about preserving history through documenting the strange, the paranormal, and the unexplained. So, to me, it's like, if there really is a Grail, if there really is an Ark still in existence, if there is, regardless of what the historical element is, being able to find that, to document that, to study that, to ask questions, to really investigate that is an honor and a privilege to anyone who can have that opportunity. And then, of course, by documenting it, then you're preserving it should, Lord forbid anything happen to something that is, so special as that. But of course, unfortunately, history gets lost a lot of times. But to have that captured and have that documented is pretty phenomenal. And then, of course, if there is something that is supernatural, paranormal attached to it, and then to be able to examine that further, then that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, here's the biggest question.
Ooh, and with only like a couple minutes left too.
Did you have fun? Will you come back?
I always have fun with you, Sean. See, I mean, this it's the Rev basically, so no one else can experience the Rev anywhere else, and it's always a privilege. So, I appreciate the invite, and of course, I'll come back.
I love you.
Love you too, brother.
I respect you.
Same
I
here.
just I wish I had just as much of your just enough of your talent in my little finger would be okay. You're very talented,
Thank you.
articulate, smart gentleman.
I pay you well.
If even even though I haven't met your wife and your family, give them all a big hug and a kiss for me.
Will do.
Maybe I'll have you back and Adrian on at the same time, and we'll do another Return to Mod Squad rant episode and go nuts on some people. I try not to go too nuts on people, but I'm not me during that show. I'm someone else.
Well, exactly. So it's fine.
So I want you to thank you so much for spending an hour out of your busy Monday, and now you're in Maryland. There, I expect tonight you're going out looking for the Grail.
Does this other character wear pants?
No, but you'll notice he won't stand up during the show. But in order for him to be the way he is, he can't have pants on.
Well, what folks don't really know, and this also applies to news anchors, is you never know what they're wearing below the waist. Basically, it could be shorts, could be nothing.
I think of you sometimes during the weirdest things. Did you ever see that old movie Network?
Yes.
I thought of you last night watching Peter Finch doing I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. That is just an awesome. Matter of fact, I'm going to find that scene. I'm going to put it on my Facebook page when we get done here.
Perfect.
I love you. Have
brother.
a great remainder of your Friday evening. I'll throw some dates at you, and before the summer's over, we'll have either just you back or we'll have Adrian, and we'll do another Mod Squad. Maybe we'll assign a character for Zach and get him in on because he's a skeptic, but he's with the ghost girl, married to the ghost girl, so he's in constant conflict there. I like to get him on for his take.
Pants optional.
All right. You have a great day. I'll be in touch, brother.
You as well.
Love you. See you later.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that time ran past too fast. That went by too fast. Okay, guys. I will be here with another all-new live show this Monday night. This is going to be a good one. Monday night, the 15th. You all know her. You all love her. The rock psychic, Chicky Hot, will be here from Nappin, BeInspiredRadio.net, and what else is Chicky into other than being just a rock psychic and having her own radio network and Nappin, North American Psychic and Paranormal Network, and all kinds of stuff. She'll be here Monday night. That'll be great. Thank you to Adrian and Zach Clayton, my co-producers. Couldn't do the show without them. CommunityPayItForward.us. CommunityPayItForward.us. Go there. Packed. Go there. Buy something. Support. It's a cool place. USOCC.org. USOCC.org. Church I belong to. If you're interested in night prayer, which is every weeknight at 7 p.m. Pacific. Go to bishopjameslong.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. The link to night prayer is there. It's a wonderful way to end your day. If you're into Bible study, which is every Wednesday and Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Pacific, it's on many, many places, but easiest for you since you're already here, Facebook Live. Go to United States Old Catholic Church Clergy and Parishioners Facebook page, and Bible study is streamed live there Wednesday and Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you to Things Network. Thank you to Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. Thank you to Skeleton Key Network. Thank you to PACT, little p, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel. For all of these places simulcasting my show, God bless you all. Thank you to BeInspiredRadio.net. Chicky re-airs audio re-airs of my show on Saturdays all day. In addition to that, she's got like old Art Bell reruns on there, a lot of shows, Loves Church, Paranormal, Napping, go there. BeInspiredRadio.net. Check out her radio network. And the show, don't forget the show, Thursday, June 9th, 10 p.m. on Travel, Discovery Plus and Max. Eli Roth presents Legion of Exorcists. I hope you all enjoy that show. A lot of hard work went into that. Bad joke time. I'm going to pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this Haunted Carnival Barker hat. My poor attempt to make everybody smile before I say goodnight. I don't know if I may have done this joke before. It seems familiar, but it's funny since I relate to it. What do you call a pile of cats? A meountain. And I got 5 of them living outside. Oh my God. I had 14 of them at one time. They all just adopted Sharon and I. So it's because we worked, our day job is at an animal hospital. I'm a tech. She's the office manager. We brought home all these carriers and bowls of food and bowls of water and started taking care of them. So whatever. It is what it is. It's what I do. You're welcome, St. Francis. I can't mention St. Francis without having him say, hi, I'm right here. All right, guys, enough being silly. I got to go make sure I take my meds today. Thank you all so much for spending an hour out of your busy Fridays to hang out with me. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. God bless you all. Peace.